Hey there, listener folks. Welcome back to another episode. Here's some news for you before we get into this lovely episode of Random Encounter. First of all, we have the latest entry in Crowdfunding Chronicles. Tina Ola has been writing about Holomento, which looks awesome. Campaign just wrapped up on that one, but go check that one out anyways, because when it comes out, I'm going to want it. It's Zelda meets Terra Enigma, so it's got that Soul Blazer action in there. It's got action RPG elements that look rad. It's got a cool style. I don't know. This game is right up my alley. I've been wanting something else like Soul Blazer for the longest time, so it's probably going to be a must-buy for me when it comes out. In the last episode, when I did the news drop, just the way things kind of were staggered out, I missed a couple of reviews on there, with like a dope. Caitlin Argyros, who's on the episode today, did a review of Yakuza Like a Dragon on PC and gave it RPG Fan Editor's Choice. This game just seems rad, and there's no place that it apparently is bad to play. A review that I'm bummed I missed reporting on was Nikki Fukuri's review of the latest Story of Seasons game, Pioneers of Olive Town, which I'm super eager to hear about, and it's a great review. Overall, it seems like it was a good above-average game for Nikki, just some stuff that feels like could have used more of an upgrade, whereas other stuff, it was, par for the course. Anyways, go check out the review. And the other one I missed was Dom Kim's look at the Monster Hunter World Iceborne DLC on the PC. That, again, he gave RPG Fan Editor's Choice. I reviewed it on PS4. It's great content for more of the same. If you really liked the original, then you're going to like this added. It's basically a sequel to Monster Hunter World Iceborne more than it is DLC. So go check out the review and see how it handles on PC. And now on to the reviews that came out since our last episode aired. Nathan Lee's very last review with RPG Fan. He fittingly looked at Neptunia Virtual Stars, and it was kind of an incompetent letdown and a bit bland, but still, it's just fitting that Nathan would have gone out on a Neptunia note. So go give his final review a read, and thanks, Nathan. Thanks for being a great guest on the podcast. Thanks for everything you've done for RPG Fan over the years. We will miss you being around the site, my friend. Then we just have a bunch of reviews from Bob Richardson, the first of which is Curse of the Dead Gods, which overall seems like a pretty strong game. It can wear out its welcome, at least from Bob's point of view, but maybe you'll like it if you get into it and find more to love in that story. Sticking with the grim theme, Evil Inside on the Xbox One was another one that Bob looked at and kind of just, leaves you wanting for, PT in a lot of ways. It is not good, but, it does the spooky stuff well. Then we have the life and suffering of Sir Bronte, keeping it nice and positive with all the games that Bob's been playing. No wonder it's taken him a while to get through them all, because I'm sure it was a depressing slog given the material. Bob, you're a trooper for us. Again, another great game, it seems, and the presentation in this game is really stunning, and it's just got a cool story. It's definitely worth checking out if you are a big fan of, a grimdark story and an interactive visual novel, that sort of thing. And then finally, his last review is a piece of DLC that dropped from Monster Train. The last Divinity DLC is, again, more of the same. It's nothing that really adds to the experience in terms of changing up the world or the mechanics or anything else, but it's just more decks, more cards, more things to get to the bosses. It's if you really liked Monster Train, then jump on this train. And that's it. Off we go to episode 212 of RPG Fan's Random Encounter. Listeners, hi, we're back for another episode of Random Encounter. We're at number 212 now, and I'm your host, as per usual, Greg Delmage. Today I'm joined by some lovely folks, one we haven't seen for quite a while, actually. But before we get to them, let's get to my regular co-host, Jono. Logan.
Happy middle of April, Greg.
Happy middle of April to all of us. By that, I guess when this goes live, Should be, if all goes on time, the day after my
Approaching-
birthday, and I'll be older then.
Oh,
So, if you're hearing this, I should be
how old will you
37
be?
now.
37.
Yep.
Oof.
Getting old. Getting there.
Yeah, way older than me. I don't turn 37 till July.
I have an
it's
embarrassing story about that.
About
About my
turning 37?
Yes. So, for some reason, I thought that I was turning 37 this year, but I'm not. I'm turning 36. But it's like, I don't know. My only excuse is that time has like gone out of whack this past year with the pandemic, and for some reason, I think it felt like it was longer than it really was. So I was like, oh God, I'm turning 37. That sucks. But wait, no. Math. 2021. I was born in 85. Oh, okay, right. Yeah, no.
What's funny is
You're
I
younger.
think I actually did that last year. I feel like because again, I was like, I didn't really pay attention to my birthday. It's like, it's pandemic, whatever. And I think I did that too. I think I was like, I'm 37. And I was like, no, you're 36. I'm like, all right. So you don't want to skip 36 apparently? I don't know.
You
That's
instantly feel a little better and a little worse because it's like, oh, I'm not that old, but I'm
Still
an
pretty old.
idiot and I can't do math on my own birthday.
My brain's going. That's how old I'm getting.
Maybe I'm getting older faster than I think.
But that's Caitlin Argyros. We haven't had in the podcast in a while. That's one of our lovely guests today. Hi, Caitlin.
Hi
Thank
guys,
you for
good to
sharing
be back.
embarrassing aging stories. Which we all have, I'm sure. And who I feel is not as old as us is returning to the podcast, Abe Kobylanski.
Actually, I'm the first to 37 here, I guess.
You beat
Oh,
it.
you're 30.
Just 37, yeah.
Well, there we go. Then I stand corrected.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got old panel.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, some of these, there's game anniversaries and stuff coming up these days now that I'm just like, oof.
Yeah.
It's like Mario's 35. I'm like, oh gosh.
No, it's good. It means that we were all active in like the days of SNES RPGs, like when we played amazing games like Final Fantasy VI or Chrono Trigger, for example.
You're just baiting at that point.
No, I'm
So
not
rude.
baiting anybody.
So good. Although speaking of aging, my embarrassing story is now that like getting into a new routine with a new job and such. I'm working where Jono works part-time too, doing copywriting and such. And our editor-in-chief, Mike Salbato, works there. And Tyler Trosper works there as well now too. It's just RPG fans taking it over slowly but surely. And I'm trying to fit into the routine, like, okay, I need to get back into shape and stuff in case I finally get some auditions and things again. But boy, my body's been like, you've been sitting a while, man. Like everything's, I can keep up like running wise, but my lungs just like burn. It's been a while. I am feeling that 37 that's on the horizon here.
I understand. I've decided every single day now I'm going for a nice long walk to listen to a podcast because I did almost no exercise over winter, and it's been I have to be consciously aware that I get all of my writing and all of my work done before I go for the walk, because when I get back I'm just going to be like, I'm going to sit down now for quite some time.
Yeah, exactly. Now that I'm not like cycling to work or working as a server running around a restaurant, it's like, what do I do again?
It's amazing how many calories you burn just standing.
That's fair. I need to get a
Not
standing
enough,
desk.
though.
Apparently.
I wish I could do that, but I feel like my feet would kill me after like just an hour or two.
Caitlin, I can't remember. Did you get Ring Fit?
I did.
You did. Okay. How is that?
And it's fun. Like, you know, they do a good job of giving you a bare bones story and having you go through stages and making sure that you are challenged to do different exercises, but while still letting you like choose a little bit of what you want to do. I do brisk walking. I try to walk like an hour or more every day. And that's my main mode of exercise. So the Ring Fit's more of like a thing I do if the weather is really bad and I can't go outside, or I had a couple of injuries last year that kept me from walking, so I used that to supplement. It's good. I mean, like, I think if I could be more motivated to do it every day or every other day or something like that, it would be more helpful for my exercise routine. As it stands, I don't use it enough to feel like I get a lot of benefit from it, but that's more on me than the game. So
I suppose.
Yeah.
I also try and take those small victories, though, where you're just like, I also could have not done this.
Yeah.
But I did.
Yeah, I mean, like a couple of years ago when my injuries were I sprained my ankle, and then as soon as that recovered, I broke a toe. So I was like,
Oh yeah, I do remember the toe.
out of action for a couple of weeks, and then out of action for like a month. And a couple of years ago, I probably would have just said, okay, I'm just gonna be sitting around all day and not get any exercise. But not with Ring Fit. At least I had that thing staring at me saying, okay, you have this thing you could do to exercise at home. You should do it.
And you have this awkward ring thing taking up real estate, so you may as well use it.
Yeah, it goes in a cupboard when I don't need it. Because it's...
Just like, in.
Imagine explaining that to, like, if a neighbor comes over or your parents are like, what is that thing? And I'm like, it's for a video game. And they're like, they might think like, oh, like a racing video game? I'm like, no.
Forklift simulator with big giant.
Yeah.
It's for Shenmue. And it makes me think too that you have it parked next to like that historic like the tank game that had like the humongous peripheral that I'm blanking the name of. Oh shoot.
Battalion, maybe?
Yeah, there it is.
Something like that. Steel Battalion?
Yeah. Steel Battalion. There we go. Got there.
Oh no.
Yeah, with its humongous, you've got like that, and then your Ring Fit, the Zelda crossbow game, Wii controller, like just all the dumb
entire it wasn't Guitar Hero, it was the like complete
rock
set.
band.
Rock band.
Yeah.
The entire
yeah.
Rock Band ensemble.
Yeah, ours hides behind our TV. We have it for the odd occasion.
I never got that. I never got into that, and probably for the best. I don't have enough storage in my place to put that away.
Yeah, it's a hard one.
I got a landlord to complain about me playing Rock Band one time, so that was fun.
Crazy kids and your music.
It's like, can't you play the drums during the daytime?
You'd think he'd be grateful that you weren't
no.
actually playing like real drums, because I would imagine they'd be a lot louder than the Rock Band set,
Definitely.
right?
That was what I thought. That's why I got them.
But it's still, I guess,
I'm a drummer in my background, and I wasn't gonna throw my drums up in an apartment and bug the neighbors. I thought I was doing the nice thing.
When I was doing a contract many, many years ago in Halifax, I just rented a place. It was just a single room full of boxes, but hey, it worked. And I had a roommate and seemed like a really nice guy. I met him the first day, and the second day I get back from rehearsal and he meets me at the door. He's like, Jono, this is so awesome, man. A friend of mine was throwing out his drums and he gave them to me for free. I'm going to learn how to play drums.
So awesome.
And I was like,
no.
Oh, that is good news. That's just what I need to, after 7 hours of rehearsing Peter Pan, what I really need to hear is someone learning how to play the drums.
I'm so sorry. I always wish they'd made better use of those Rock Band and Guitar Hero peripherals. Like, they were just such a one-shot item. Like, obviously you could use it for like the extended games, but like I really wish other developers had like taken on it or something. Like, I was like, it'd be really cool to have like an RPG where you're a bard and you have to like sing to battle, like how good you do in the singing, like with, because it has like, tracks it and everything. It'd be really cool. That can be how your damage is done. I don't know. I just thought there was opportunities that people didn't really explore.
I would kill at a game like that.
If you ask me, the Yakuza developers missed a trick when they didn't release like Rock Band Yakuza and just take all of the karaoke from all the games.
That'd be incredible.
And make Rock Band versions of them.
Or Dance Dance Yakuza.
I think there's actually a dance. Is there a mini game in? I can't remember. I think there might be a mini game about that, and it's somewhere in the 19 entries in the series.
You get your Xbox Kinect out and you can dance along to the idle sequences.Maybe
the disco minigame in Zero would be easier that way. I don't know.
It's possible.
You do not like that minigame.
I don't. I'm not even like... I can't imagine like a colorblind person trying to do that minigame, because it's hard enough for me to parse on the harder difficulties, like where I'm actually supposed to go. Overlapping colors in quick succession is not a good idea.
I don't know it. I don't know if you've talked about it, Jono.
Oh, the disco minigame?
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen the meme with it's Friday night and it has Majima and Kiryu doing like a strut on the dance floor.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that, and it's like a mixture of a rhythm game, and it looks like a tic-tac-toe board, and you need to move your cursor around to the right space, hit the right button at the right time. And it's actually really friggin' challenging. It's a hard minigame. Probably the hardest rhythm minigame in the series.
Yeah.
But it is...
At least it has good music, so...
That's
I mean,
good.
they all have good music.
That's true.
Well,
Yeah.
aside from mini games and fitness, I suppose we could talk about RPGs, though, eh? It's kind of what we're here for, I guess.
Yeah, why not?
I guess
Let's get crazy.
maybe.
Let's get crazy. Just kidding. This is our very belated April Fools for Random Encounter. No, we
Woohoo.
do have some fun stuff to talk about. Speaking of April Fools, actually, on April 1st, Outriders came out. That was that fun new game being published by Square Enix, though not developed by them. That one comes to us from People Who Can Fly.
People Can Fly.
Yeah, and Abe, you've been playing that for us. You've gone through it all. Where's that land? Did you try it out? I think you did the preview of it or tried a demo or something back around E3 last year. Was that? Was that you? I can't remember.
I was not on board for E3
Okay,
last
maybe you
year.
weren't yet. Okay, someone had. I thought it was you, but no, it's right. That's right. You've only been here for a couple months. Either way, I remember we gave it a try and it was looking neat. But yeah, how's it shaping up?
It's okay. There's some issues online with the online connectivity. I know there's been
Right, we've been hearing about those.
inventory wipes. I've seen online. I personally didn't experience any of that, thankfully. But anyway, Outriders is a third-person shooter, and you get some special abilities with it too, which are off the charts awesome. So, since we're all children of the '90s, as we've established, there's one power you get where you can stop bullets with your hand. It's pretty freaking awesome. And then you shoot the bullets back at the enemies.
It's very Neo of you. Is the third person elements? Is it like with people who've played Mass Effect and such? Does it handle like that?
Yeah. I actually thought Mass Effect was a pretty close comparison.
Okay.
It's kind of the story anyway is kind of a Mass Effect light sort of thing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's so you don't, like in Mass Effect, when you'd get into conversations, you'd have the conversation wheel.
Right.
You do have conversation options here, but it's not like branching conversation options. There's no big player choice or anything like that, which actually feels a little weird to play something like that after playing Mass Effect and other BioWare games for so long.
Well, yeah, it almost feels like what's the point of having it then if it doesn't really add much agency to the story for the player?
Yeah, and then the problem with that is that your character is kind of a dumbass, and the character actually kind of undermines the story.
Oh, weird. Well, and there's a couple different characters, or do you just get to pick one? Like, how does...
So the weird thing is you also get to create your character.
Okay.
You just don't get to control anything that they do narratively.
Gotcha. So you're just like a model going through dumbassery, apparently.
Yeah. Your character is kind of a shoot first. Don't ask questions later because there's no one to ask questions to.
Who's got time for that?
You're dead. But anyway, I don't want to just trash the game.
No, of course, but it's still valid to know.
So the one interesting thing was that the main story is just kind of okay. The side quests though are excellent. If you play the game, you got to play all the side quests because there's just some great narrative stuff in there. A lot of the stories you'll start up feel a little bit familiar, but they generally tend to subvert your expectations by the end of them.
Oh, that's good.
So, for instance, there's this one where you're at your base camp and you get a call on the radio saying that this guy's surrounded by monsters and he needs help. So you go and check out the call, and it turns out he's stuck in an outhouse, and he's surrounded in the outhouse by these monsters, and you have to get rid of the monsters to get him to come out. Very Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like they're definitely setting up for that a little bit. And so, because there's multiple characters, but you create your own character. Like, is it like a full on character creator, or is it more like you pick one of the options? Are there different classes?
The classes, yeah. The classes are kind of the real meat of the creation there.
Okay.
They're pretty different. The actual appearance creator, I think, is really just there because of the game's heavy online component, heavy multiplayer component. So it's kind of a simple character creator. You can choose faces that are pre-made and skin tones, and that's about it in terms of appearance. You can choose your gender at least, too.
Right. But getting into the class stuff, that's where you can tweak a lot more, or like, can you build your own class like Oblivion, Skyrim kind of style, or are they preset? With some
they're preset, and there's no crossover between classes.
Oh, okay.
So you pick the class, you're in for life.
Gotcha.
So if you want to see more than one, if you want to see more than one class, you're playing more than one game. Then
you gotta create another character. There's a number of head scratching elements in this game. So,
like, does the game warrant like another playthrough? Like, is it diverse enough story wise with the side quests, or is like, can you get everything done as one character all the way through? Like, what's the impetus to go again?
Yeah, just to try another class. The game is being very heavily marketed for its multiplayer component.
Right.
And I think that's probably the best way to go through the game. And so if you want to play it again with your buddy who just picked it up, like that would be the reason to go through again. And plus getting to try a different class, I guess.
So it's basically like trying to jump back into like Diablo or Torchlight 2 and stuff like that, like where you're in it just to do runs. Now, does it work kind of like are you doing runs to get like cool loot and stuff? Like, how does your character customization work? Is it like Destiny and Destiny 2 and such, where you're getting loot for first person shooting or third person?
Yeah, you get tons of loot. Pretty much every battle you get new loot. So there's tons of loot.
Gotcha. So they're going for the loot hack gameplay loop. Then it sounds like
they are. Yeah. So it's very much feels like something between like Borderlands and Mass Effect, I would say.
I mean, I could see that being fun.
Yeah, definitely seems better with more than one player. You can have up to 3.
Oh, okay. And then are all 3 of you, again, jumping back to the idea of like Diablo 2, is it a complete linear storyline that all 3 of you can go through, or is it more like there's a hub kind of like in Destiny, and then you kind of go out on missions? How's that based?
You can do the entire thing with co-op.
Okay.
You can go back and replay missions. So, yeah. Then it's a complete game with co-op or a solo. It's pretty much the same experience either way.
Gotcha. So is there a hub then that you jump out to, or is it just you select a mission and
No, you just jump in. Just jump in. I had my privacy settings open when I was playing, and one guy just popped into my world, and we started killing monsters together. That's pretty fun. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of cool.
It felt like Dark Souls. I was like, oh no. But no, he was friendly.
Yeah, is there PvP?
No, it's completely PvE.
Oh, good.
Well, that's going to foster a much nicer community.
Yeah, so there's...
Like Monster Hunter.
I mean, especially since there's so much of an emphasis on loot, so you don't have to worry about someone coming in overpowered. You're all on the same team. That's
good. Yeah, how's the matchmaking then? Do you find you're getting paired up with people who are outpowered, or you're overpowering them, or do they do a good job of matching people in the same category, so you're not just kind of tanking for somebody?
Well, since they can pop in like right wherever you are, I mean, they're already on the same level, same environment as you are, so they will be most likely at the same level as you.
Oh, okay,
or similar.
So the missions and such are kind of level gate kept?
No, I mean, in terms of where you are in the narrative.
Oh, okay. And usually you'd have to be a certain part. You'd have
to
to be around that same area. You can't just like jump ahead in the story if you want to join a game further. But if you're further ahead, you can go back and join someone in the earlier missions.
Yeah.
Okay. So theoretically, you could tank for a friend if you wanted to, or start the experience from scratch.
That's right. Yeah.
What are the different classes? Like, how many of them are there to choose from? Why have you gone back and like at least played around with a bit of them, or did you just kind of stick to one and that was it?
So there's 4 classes.
Okay.
The one I played through the game with was the Devastator, which is the tank class.
I was gonna say it sounds heavy.
Yeah. I also tried the Pyromancer a little bit, which is just what it sounds, setting things on fire and then shooting them. But again, the biggest difference between the classes is the special abilities, which are like they're quite spectacular.
In terms of like how they look and perform, like just really cool animations, or just it's really fun. The power they give you is fun to just nuke everything.
Yeah, all of that, I guess.
Oh, okay. I like it.
So like there was another power I had that was this giant spike would come out of the ground and it would skewer one of your enemies.
Oof.
So it's a very pretty dramatic stuff there.
Does that sort of stuff like stick in the level? Does it manipulate the world? Or does it kind of go up, do its thing, and then go away?
It's a one shot sort of thing. It's more the spectacle of getting to use the powers, just because they look so big, I guess.
Yeah.
Spectacular.
It's fun, yeah.
I think it makes you feel like a superhero, pretty much. I think more than other superhero games we've had recently. Even though you're not actually a superhero, though. You're not like
games
Captain Planet or anything.
Square Enix.
That's what. Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
So when you're in a party of 3 and you have different classes now, does it behoove you to try and find diverse classes? Like, is there a good synergy between the 4 different, or I guess if you'd have at most, 2 other people to play with? Or do you find, like, if you had 3 Devastators, it really doesn't change the dynamic one way or the other?
It didn't really seem like it made much of a difference one way or the other. Some of the special abilities play into working better as a group.
They can combo up a bit.
Yeah, but for the most part, you're shooting stuff.
Yeah, fair enough.
You shoot, yeah.
And which was kind of how Borderlands played too. It's just how did you want to shoot stuff, but there wasn't a ton of synergy, so to speak, in terms of trying to set things up. You could do a little bit of it and support each other, but mostly you're just trying to buff yourself to shoot things better.
Yeah. Anyway, I think the game is best when it's full on spectacle. Both in terms of the gameplay and the story.
So more late game kind of events.
Well, no, a lot of the special effects that you get with the guns are pretty similar to stuff that you'd see in other RPGs, actually.
Okay.
So like for instance, there's a freeze effect, and there was one time where one of these alien monsters leapt at me, and I shot it with the freeze gun, and it froze in midair.
And stopped inertia? Like it also freezes its inertia? That's weird, but cool.
I don't know how physics works on this other planet, but
apparently not very well.
It's a different planet, so who knows?
Yeah, I would definitely love to see games that are able to go that much further with the with the physics, and you like freeze the enemy, and you're like, haha, I got him. Oh crap, and it still collides with you and takes you out. Just reduces the damage.
Yeah.
That's funny though.
And in the story, it's at its best when it goes big and loud, like like just like a Hollywood blockbuster movie sort of thing. Like at one point you fight a volcano spider with that sends little spiders at you that jump at you and explode.
I don't hate it, but I also hate it. But that's also one spider you can't kill with fire.
Yeah.
Do not want.
So,
kill like ice.
It's at its best when it's going big and loud. So
does that work for the music as well, or is the music just kind of generic cinematic?
It's it kind of feels like it's going for a Mass Effect sort of thing, but
okay, a lot of
the variety isn't. It's not excellent.
Oh, okay.
It's okay.
And then we were talking a bit in the pre-show. Prior to this, People Can Fly had done Bulletstorm, which we thought came out a bit later, but that was 2011, and that was just pure FPS, if I recall. But I do remember it came. I never played it, and Abe, I think you said you hadn't either.
No, I hadn't either.
None of us had really. But since then, I guess it's just this.
I believe they did a remake of it. Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, I saw that in my search too. Reloaded, I think is what it was called, or something.
The Bulletstorm Duke of Switch edition.
Oh.
It is a remastered version of Bulletstorm Full Clip Edition.
Oh, maybe that's what I was thinking. Full Clip Edition.
Which is a remastered version of Bulletstorm.
Okay.
So a remaster of a remaster.
Yep.
Wow.
Which, give us a decade and we'll get there. But it's, I don't know, it sounds compelling. Like, the part of me that loves, like, the Diablo Torchlight loot grind might be compelled by this. And I'm pretty picky when it comes to my shooters that I like to get into. I've had a craving again lately. I've been playing Dreadnought Online, which is very much not your conventional shooter for those who have never heard of Dreadnought. It is a squad-based FPS, except you're a giant spaceship. You're a big, giant capital ship flying through space, and then you got tactics and stuff like that. It's super cool. And so I've been doing that, but I've kind of also had that hankering of like, maybe I want a COD or Halo or something. So this could be it, because I did like... I mean, Caitlin and I were on the retro encounter for Mass Effect 1, and it held up okay. Like, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be going back to it, but I know they definitely improved on the mechanics in 2 and 3. And, it'd be nice to play that.
I mean, to make another reference, it's kind of Gears of War-ish. You do a lot of getting into cover
stuff.
And, yeah. Cover's not mandatory, but it, you want to be in cover if you're not running.
Right.
It sounds a lot like a big, dumb sci-fi blockbuster movie, like you said.
Exactly, yeah.
You're just going in to shoot things.
Yeah, if you're not, don't think too deeply about it. But
Gotcha.
But but it's a blast if
there's the pull
you
quote.
got a few people.
I was watching briefly someone stream it like a week or so ago, and they mentioned something about how to keep yourself healthy, you basically have to be really aggressive and keep shooting the enemy. Is that the case?
That's right. The game definitely encourages aggression. The only way to heal is by killing enemies. There's no healing items.
Oh boy!
Like, you just regenerate after, like, through doing damage, or like every time you heal, you kind of get like power ups that heal you, kind of thing.
You kill enemies and your hit points go up.
Oh, okay.
Is there an in-game reason for that, or is it just mechanics?
Just mechanics. They don't really give a reason for it.
Okay,
They're
so
all vampires.
See, that's a shame, because given the way that theoretically you got your powers, it's a shame they didn't have something like you're absorbing their life force.
Their life force, yeah.
It just seems like a given. It's sci-fi. You can literally justify anything.
I think I'll stay away. I don't really like games that force you to be like super aggressive in order to stay alive. Like, that was my big issue with Xenoblade X. Was I didn't like the way healing worked in that game, because it felt like I had to be super efficient and aggressive in order to keep healing and kill the enemy before they killed me, because there was barely any actual like healing abilities in that game.
Oh, interesting.
I think that a lot of shooter games have kind of gotten into where it kind of works to turtle, and so this really pushes you to move and get out and.
So you find
shoot.
it a bit more of a refreshing change, I guess.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
That's just my opinion, though. Yeah.
Doom has a similar mechanic, doesn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I mean, I just know that there's been some games that try and deter, like Left 4 Dead, for example, did it, where if you turtled around for too long, they'd be like, have more zombies. And I always liked those things where it stopped you from just kind of trying to clam up somewhere. But
the enemies are good at flanking. They don't just let you sit in cover and be safe. They'll come up and they'll get behind you if you don't keep moving.
Yep, and they'll drop bombs and they'll flush you out of cover.
Okay.
So some decent AI anyway.
It's decent, yeah. It throws enough at you that it's a good challenge.
gotcha.
Or if you want to put it on easy mode, you could just tear through the enemies. That's also an option too.
Because this sounds
Which
like a game
is
you
kind
wanna
of fun
play for the
sometimes.
story.
Yeah. Yeah.
After I've done this, I'm going to go read a Playboy for the articles.
From what I've heard and from what you've been telling me, it seems like I've actually been eager to ask you about this. It seems like this game is primarily going to be remembered for its rather liberal use of constant online connectivity. Has that impacted your experience with the game at all? Because I know there's, like you mentioned it earlier, but I know there's some people who have had some real nightmares of experience with this thing.
Yeah, so I got online to play on the release date, and I had like a couple hours before work, and I hopped on, and it said, server can't connect. Look online, server is down.
Oof, and that's just probably overload from the initial launch day.
Probably. So I sat there and played Dark Souls, which also has an online component, but also you don't have to be connected online to play it. So there's a solo. Even if you play solo, you have to be connected online. And
that seems strange.
Don't really see the point of that.
But I feel like that was the same for when I did Torchlight 3. It had the same thing. There's no connectivity issues, thankfully, because it's still kind of in beta or whatever, so it's not like the servers are overloaded. But like, I get that they're trying to keep it online and curate an experience. Like Anthem was like that too, wasn't it, Caitlin? I mean, you could conceivably go through it by yourself, but you had to always be online because they always had online events and stuff they could throw at you at any moment, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And is it justified through that? Like that just there's online server-based things that they can just throw at your gameplay, even if you're playing by yourself, or is it just they want that connectivity so players can come and go in your game at all times?
Yeah, it's mostly for the matchmaking. Like they haven't really announced any sort of timed raids or anything like that.
Right.
It's yeah. If you're playing by yourself, you're playing by yourself.
But you won't be playing by yourself always. Because is there a way to turn off that people can?
You
jump
can
in?
turn off the privacy. Yeah, I had my
okay.
privacy settings open when someone jumped into my world.
Okay, so people can still, if they want to have that solo experience, you can. But it's just.
But you still have to be
online.
You still have to sign in. You still have to log in.
They try this every few, not specifically People Can Fly, but like developers try this every few years where I think they just keep testing the waters to see how open people are going to be to persistent online connectivity, even if you should not need it to play the game. Like Diablo 3 is, its lasting infamy was on day one you needed to be constantly connected, even if you were just playing by yourself. And then there was a lot of
about that.
Yeah, there was a lot of controversy about that. Partially because just like Outriders, everyone logged in at the same time to play it on the first day and was greeted by a lot of error messages. But that, that eventually does settle down, and, eventually you can play the game as they fix the servers and as it gets more stable. But the line you constantly hear is, no, this has nothing to do with digital rights management. This is all to do with we curate the online experience, and I think it's horrible. I think they're trying to get a constant connectivity to minimize piracy, to try to control the nature of their game. And I think that with the rise of World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV, other games like this, with constant online connectivity, because they are online games, some game companies think they can get away with it, even though they don't need to get away with it. And it sounds like they're trying to test the waters again with this one. And it seems like, once again, people are like, why are you doing this? This is unnecessary. And they're getting roasted for it.
Don't do this to us.
Yeah. Yes.
Because
all of that.
Yeah. In my mind, if you try this, you're going to screw up launch day, and you're going to get at least a week and a half of really critical articles from media outlets talking about people who lose their connection in the middle of the game and lose 60 hours of playtime and stuff like that.
Lose their cool loot, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just going to happen.
Well, the thing is about having the first day issues is that, I mean, everyone's buying this stuff digitally now. The companies know how many people are going to be online. It seems like they were underprepared.
Yeah, they just didn't do the stress test.
And it seems like it seems like they should have been prepared for it. It almost felt to me like they underexpected how many people would actually be playing the game.
People want to play a product? What?
There's just a few things in with the rollout of this game that make me wonder how committed they are to it. Honestly,
it's weird. But
yeah.
Before we move on with the conversation, I wanted to ask, 'cause I don't know if we've heard any announcements about possible DLC and such, but do you see them adding more classes or adding other story areas or regions or something like that? What would you like to see from DLC?
Well, People Can Fly has said that they are probably going to do a DLC, but they don't have any concrete plans yet.
What's on your wish list?
With the main story being kind of, it felt like it ended a bit abruptly. I would like to see them continue it. But also, like I said, the side quests were very well written, and if they just throw in more of those, like I'd be happy if if they're at the same level of quality.
Nice.
More classes might be interesting. I don't know.
And there'll most likely be more loot and yada yada.
Yeah. The one thing is, all the battles kind of start to feel the same after a while. I would like to see them evolve that a little bit more. You fight a couple like massive bosses, but it's only like 2 or 3. Yeah, you'd like to see them try more of that, like going back to talking about the spectacle of the game. It's what it does best.
A few more set pieces wouldn't be bad.
Yeah.
Well, awesome.
So, yeah, there you go.
No, thanks for sharing, and I'm looking forward to seeing your final thoughts on the review and such. And it's, depending on where it lands for people, it might be something I might want to pick up in the future to play with some friends or something. It could jive to scratch that weird random human need to be like, let's just shoot things in video games.
Yep. For people who have Xbox Game Pass, I know it's on there, so there's no reason not to check it out.
There we go. Caitlin, over to you, because the very next day, we got a little dreamy wonder game on Apple Arcade that a lot of people have been kind of pining for because it looks so delightful and unique. Mistwalker has given us, I think we all settled on Fantasian for the name.
Fantasian.
Yeah. How's that magical experience been?
I'm in love with this game. Like,
Can't blame you.
I'm kind of like, I'm trying to be objective, of course, because, gotta be objective, but I really, really like it so far. I haven't finished part 1 yet. I want to say I'm like well over halfway through part 1, but I don't know. It's hard to tell because I think in part because it's a mobile Apple Arcade game right now. There hasn't really been a lot of movement on discussions as like people asking how far am I or what's this and this. So I don't really know how much more I have to go. Yeah, they say Mistwalker. They said that it would take about 20 to 30 hours. A lot of people were clocking in under that. I, of course, take forever to play games. I'm already over 30 hours, but I'm slow. Like, I take my time, and it's even more so with this game because I literally have spent, like, a lot of time just staring at the backgrounds and just in awe and kind of oohing and ahhing over the diorama backgrounds that they've done for this game. Because if there's anything that you've probably known or heard about this game when it was announced before it came out, it's probably that really unique. All the backgrounds are actual real dioramas that they made and then photographed to sort of harken back to the pre-rendered backgrounds of classic PS1
That's so neat.
Final Fantasy games. But they're real, they're dioramas, and some of them are so gorgeous and then super cute with all the little details. Like a bar has a bunch of glasses, and you'll have bedrooms that have carpets and little bookshelves and kitchenettes and things like that.
You're just waiting for someone to set like a hamster loose in it and be like, look, he thinks he's people.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm actually kind of sad that it's only part 1. Part 2 is going to come out sometime later this year, but we don't really have a time frame on when. I hope it's sooner rather than later, but I mean, I guess we'll find out in the coming months when that will be. So yeah, so this is the latest Mistwalker game, and if you know anything about Mistwalker, you know it's Hironobu Sakaguchi's studio, and he's the father of Final Fantasy, as people would say. he said that this could be his last project. So, I mean,
You should have named it Final Fantasy.
I know, right? Like we had Lost Odyssey, which was kind of a similar play on words,
Right.
and I mean, I guess Fantasian fantasy. So yeah, he's definitely this is a game that is clearly meant to evoke nostalgia and make you feel like you're playing a PS1 Final Fantasy game. I think the inspiration is very clear on the sleeve of this game as soon as you load it up. And surprisingly, I really took heart from that. I really enjoyed the nostalgia that I felt from booting this game up in a way that I wasn't really expecting. I mean, I love Final Fantasy, and I very much do love the PS1 Final Fantasy games since they were my first Final Fantasies and my first real RPGs. But I'm not someone who's always like, oh, I really want the nostalgia from, previous generations. Like, I like it. It can be fun. Like, I liked it in Octopath Traveler. That was cool. But it's not like something that I was like, oh, well, I need this now. I really need this. But having played this, yeah, I really need it. It's just a very heartwarming experience that speaks to my youth and my youth, both in my age and also in my video game, history or whatnot. Reminds me of some of my earliest days playing RPGs, and I think anybody who's played the Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9 era of Final Fantasies will find a lot to like in this game. It's definitely a sort of a classic Sakaguchi kind of story, and feel to it, and the battle system will be kind of a familiar but nice kind of twist on a Final Fantasy X style turn-based battle system.
Oh, cool.
So
that one's got a lot of nice activity to it, so that's cool that they got that.
Yeah.
You get a little save crystal like 7. It's great.
Yeah.
It's got like... Okay, so I love how it looks, but there's also a part of me that gets hit a bit by the uncanny valley of that it kind of looks like AR. It's got that, like, it just feels like you've scanned something with your phone and like you're playing on this little maquette with 3D characters that don't quite fit. Like, is it just simply that's just the art choice? There's no reason why the world looks this way and why the characters are slightly different, or that's just as close as they got the models to this world. Obviously, they weren't going to stop animate every single character, although I feel like there was some game that was doing that not too long ago. But yeah, like, was that too jarring? Is there a reason for it in the world, or is it just the way it is?
I think it's just the art choice from the team. There's nothing
Which is fine.
That suggests in the game that there's any sort of reason for that. It's just, what they decide to do. I think it's cool. Like, it reminds me of, again, of those PS1 Final Fantasies where you'd have the background and the characters, the NPCs would always stand out because they're not pre-rendered.
Yeah, they kind of stick out a bit.
They're sprites.
Yeah.
And they would, you'd have some times where, depending on, what map you're on, maybe the camera's zoomed in a little bit and it's a little blurry in the background, but the characters are nice and sharp. And that happens here too, which on the one hand is unfortunate. Like, I think they may have decided they couldn't take super high res shots because they had to manage the file size since it is on mobile devices.
Yeah.
It's only like 4.5 gigabytes of a download.
Yeah.
So I wonder if maybe they had a limit. They didn't want to go above a certain file size. So sometimes, depending on where you are on the map or in a cutscene, it'll be super zoomed in and the background will be pretty blurry. Embarrassingly so. There are a few scenes where I'm like, wow, why is this so blurry and low res? But on the other hand, I don't know, like, there's a part of me that remembers that kind of same effect from old Final Fantasy games. Like, that would happen too.
You're forgiving enough.
Yeah, so to a certain extent, I'm like, okay, well, I'm feeling this.
Okay.
This reminds me of old school Final Fantasy a little bit. So,
Would you be shocked if we heard, like, in like 2 years' time that they're going to up-res it and port it to like consoles or a PC or something, like do a port where they can do like that bigger, like now it's 32 gigs, you know.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Okay.
I don't know what Apple's rules are about the exclusivity of this game. I only just subbed to Apple Arcade for this, and actually I'm quite happy with it so far, so I'm probably going to hold on to it for a little while.
Right.
But I mean, assuming that they don't, have like a permanent, this can never leave Apple Arcade, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point it makes its way to, I don't know, a Switch would seem to be a really good place for this game too.
It's a bit of a no-brainer, really.
Yeah, it's got a very Bravely kind of vibe with the new, especially with how Bravely Default 2 looked. It's kind of in the same kind of wheelhouse. But it's like, I mean, I don't know. The Mac OS is an option on Steam. They can still just keep it Mac exclusive.
What are you playing it on?
I've mostly been playing it on my Apple 4K TV, on my living room TV. But when I've been playing it while I can at work, and when I'm at work, I play it on my iPad.
And how does the controls translate wise?
Well, they both the Apple TV and the iPad support Bluetooth controllers. So mostly I use my DualShock 4 with it,
nice.
and it's it has built-in support. It works just fine. I mean, when I'm playing it on my Apple TV, it's like I was playing it like on my PS4 or whatnot. It feels like very much like a console kind of experience.
Okay.
It looks good. It runs well.
Honestly,
on
I feel like the second you said that, somebody at like an Apple Park just like was like, "Woo!" Console level experience.
Yeah. There's a little bit of awkwardness in the controls. So all of the backgrounds are obviously, an angled camera shot, but they take multiple angles depending on where you are moving in the area. And there's a sort of like pseudo, it looks like the camera is moving transition, like they almost use a video camera to record a movement, but it's not. It's just, it's some sort of, AI or computer based system going from one angle of a shot to the other, and just it looks like the camera's rotating.
Just weird transitions.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Like it's a way to simulate the idea of an actual camera movement, even though it's just going from one still image to the other.
Well, it's just him in his basement with an iPhone, like running around the model.
Yeah. But when it does do that, sometimes it's like the game still thinks that if you're holding onto the analog stick, that you're moving in the same direction, even though the angle may have changed. So sometimes when the angle changes, your character control goes a little out of whack, and you have to let go of the analog stick for a second to reorient.
They're just keeping that classic PlayStation 1 vibe, because I can definitely think of more than a few Final Fantasy 8, 9, and 10, and whatever moments where I switched frames and was like, wait, why? Whoa, and I just walked back. I didn't want to do that.
Yeah, to the previous one. Yeah, I've done that a bunch too. So again, it's nostalgia. It kind of.
Let's just keep it broken.
I'm giving them a pass because, technically that's not really a good thing, but hey, it reminds me of the olden days.
It was artist intention, I swear.
Yeah. It's a little weirder if you're playing with touch controls for movement, because there is no virtual analog stick. You just tap on a place and it drops a pin, and then your character moves there automatically.
Oh, okay. Like
and you can't even just like hold it and have him just follow a trail. It will just keep dropping pins, and it's kind of an interesting choice. I was expecting to have more of a virtual joystick kind of control there. But I mean, it doesn't really in the long run impact gameplay. So I don't, if you don't have a Bluetooth controller, or you don't want to carry one around because that's an extra peripheral to lug about with you, it's perfectly playable with touch controls too.
Also, some people just prefer touch controls. Like the idea of using a controller to them is just, why would I use a controller? I can just touch the screen.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people, but
there is one real big downside of using the touch controls, and that's how you access the menu. So the menu, when you're using touch controls, you have to drag from the right side of the screen to pull up the menu. But if you use an iPad, that's also how you pull the slide over for multitasking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really finicky. it is really finicky. Sometimes I have a really hard time getting the menu to react and not not iPad OS thinking I'm trying to pull slide over. So that's a thing. I would have appreciated like a dedicated button somewhere on the screen that you just tap to pull the menu instead of or slide it from the left side of the screen or something, you know.
Something that doesn't interfere with the actual functionality of the iPad itself or iPhone itself.
Yeah. And obviously it's a moot point if you're using a controller because you just use the face buttons to open the menu on the controller. So there's that.
Yeah, they could have just put like a little transparent square up in the top right-hand corner, and if you touched it, it would open the menu, and it wouldn't have bothered anyone.
Yeah. Most likely.
So I don't know. Maybe they'll make adjustments with when part 2 comes out, but we'll see.
I think what you were saying about like the nostalgia and how the game looks and how it evokes PlayStation 1 graphics without actually looking like PlayStation 1 graphics because of the diorama. I think it's a really, really clever idea to get that idea. Like when I first saw the graphic style and the dioramas, I got really excited because one of my guilty pleasures, I am just going to sit in my computer chair and zone out, is to watch people make dioramas on YouTube. There's a guy named Luke Towan, I think his name is, and he just like makes these beautiful, super realistic dioramas, and it's really, really relaxing to watch him put these things together from just styrofoam to, if you weren't really paying close attention, it looks real. So I when I saw that, I was like, wow, this looks really cool. And then to hear that it's also evoking the slight disconnect between your characters and the background from PlayStation 1 era, that's really cool to me. You were mentioning blurriness. I'm curious how is the blurriness and the graphic fidelity, is it as noticeable on the iPad as it is on the Apple TV? I'd be curious to see if Apple is, well, frankly, if Apple just doesn't care about Apple TV people. They think that most people are going to be playing this on an iPad, so that's where they're putting their energies. Or does it look like equally good on both?
It looks equally good on both, and equally distracting when it's super blurry and low resolution on both.
Well, that's too bad on the one hand, and also good that Apple's not just like, whatever, Apple TV. Pff.
Oh yeah, no. I think Apple is. I don't think they're at all like thinking about abandoning the utility of the Apple TV, which is good because it's my primary streaming device. And now that I have Apple Arcade and access to a lot of cool indie games that I've been wanting to check out, but didn't really want to either buy elsewhere or get Apple Arcade for.
Right.
Now I'm seriously thinking it, because I mean, and to be fair, I'm really entrenched in the Apple ecosystem. I have a pet tablet and an Apple TV. I've got a phone. I have a MacBook. So the convenience of Apple Arcade, being able to jump from one device to the other and like cloud saves and all that, is really cool for me. It might not be for someone else, but I will say, even if you have no Apple products whatsoever, and if you really want to check out this game, the Apple TV is a decent idea because it's probably the cheapest way to get a hold of Apple Arcade games. Much cheaper than buying an iPad or getting a MacBook or a Mac desktop. And the current models, they're hopefully going to update them soon, so you might want to wait and see when that happens. But like I said, you connect a Bluetooth controller, plug it to your TV. It's like you're playing on a console. And I mean, right now, I think the current models are under $200, so it's a decent way to get access to it if you want.
Yeah.
I'm not being paid by Apple to say that. I know full well they're expensive, and I'm in a privileged position of having multiple devices to work with. But
yeah, and plus you'll get a few free months of Apple TV on top of that, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not some bad
And
stuff
I
on
mean,
there.
if all you want to do is check this game out, there's a free month. You get a month free trial for Apple Arcade before you have to start paying. And this game is absolutely beatable, well under that month. So you could check it out. You could cancel your subscription after you're finished and then maybe resubscribe when part 2 comes out or whatever. So, there's always that. At least you don't have to like pay like a year's subscription up front just to play one game if that's the only thing you're interested in.
Hey, Caitlin, out of curiosity, this is related to what you were talking about. Have you checked out Mythic Quest yet on Apple TV?
I have not.
Not a bad show.
I watched it a couple of weeks ago. The next season starts on Friday, I think, or at least there's a special episode coming out.
Yeah.
If you are, it's awesome. It's great. It's very, very funny. But also, it's about the development of an MMORPG. So
yeah, I saw the trailer for it. I want to check it out at some point because it seems like it would be a cool show for gamers to watch and probably lots of inside references and jokes and whatnot.
Yeah, there's some inside baseball.
Well.
I liked it though. If you were looking for a reason to use your Apple TV, Plus, that's a pretty good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and it's
also Ted Lasso is great.
It had one of the best COVID shot episodes I've seen. Like
the quarantine episode.
The quarantine episode is incredibly good.
Oh, cool!
In its way. Like it was very powerful.
So I haven't talked about a couple of things like really important to discuss, like how's the story?
I was going to ask you about that. Is it as simple as is that also part of the throwback? Like they keep that simple? Because you said you want to keep going and want more, so I'm guessing it's a compelling tale.
It is. So it's both. It's they are definitely sort of going for that sort of classic old school Final Fantasy kind of JRPG feel with the story. Like the characters, there's a lot of archetypes that you've seen before. The main character's name is Leo. He's amnesia. You start the game with him, going through this machine world, and right at the beginning there's an explosion and he wakes up and doesn't remember pretty much anything besides his name. So a big part of the opening portion of the game is him going around trying to figure out who he is, what he was doing there, all this stuff. And so we've seen that. And Amnesiac main protagonist is nothing new.
He also looks a lot like 2B, which kept throwing me off when I was seeing with all the new Nier promo stuff. I was like, wait, which one is this now?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting design choice. I also kind of thought, hey, that looks like Nier almost. And in the other characters also, there are tropes that they fulfill. You've got the mysterious orphan girl who's got powerful magic. You've got the haughty princess. You have the cantankerous sea captain, the bratty child. So you're going to see all these classic archetypes that we've seen in in past Final Fantasy games. Yeah, but I think it's to me personally, it feels like an archetype's done well. Like I like the characters. It's not like they're, super unique and different, but they all feel fun, and there's an earnestness to them that really, I think, helps endear you to them. It's just, I like it. The story is really interesting, though. Like, at first I wasn't sure if it was just going to be about figuring out who Leo is, but the game is really good about dropping breadcrumbs at like a steady pace, and every breadcrumb explains a little bit more about Leo or the world. And the world itself, the more I'm learning about the world, it's really, really cool. Like, I'm surprised by how much I've gotten into trying to figure out what the heck is going on and what the end game of the bad guys is, who the bad guys even are. Like, I take notes when I play these games to review, and usually it's just like, okay, what do I think about the gameplay or the graphics or the sound or whatever? But my notes have turned into this sort of like, I'm jotting down theories about, okay, this character could be that, or maybe it's this, like this kind of thing, or are they going to do that? Like, I'm just like jotting down lots of theories about what might be going on, because the game is so good at making every new little breadcrumb sort of change your perception of the bad guy or the world or Leo or, whatever. So that's part of the reason why I'm super excited for part 2, just even though I haven't finished part 1 yet, because they've done a good job of laying this foundation of a really interesting world. So
I look forward to your review just being all Caitlin theories.
I know, it's going to be super hard. Like, I'm trying to be vague in even discussing it, because part of the fun for me really has been getting those breadcrumbs and having them turn the gears in my head a little bit. So I don't want to really spoil what, some of the things that are going on.
And thus,
I mean,
I get it.
Yeah. The big level, the broad thing is you have the human world that is being invaded by these these machine-like infestation called Mectaria that will like kill people and steal their emotions if they get near it, and it's coming from this hole in the sky, and everybody thinks that it is the doing of this evil god called Vam the Malevolent, and that's
like
all I'll say about.
Wait, what was his name?
His name is Vam the Malevolent.
Okay, I heard Bam. It's like Bam.
Oh, okay.
Just coming down.
That would be interesting. Bam Bam.
But yeah.
So yeah.
And
but it gets a lot more interesting than that, because I mean, maybe that just sounds like, oh, of course, there's a bad guy and he's poisoning the world and we have to stop him.
It sounds like it subverts where it kind of the obvious start. Like it sounds like it gets more interesting, because if it just stayed like that, I wouldn't expect you to be this intrigued.
Yeah, it definitely does start to subvert and to maybe broaden beyond that initial sort of like trope of, oh, evil bad guy makes the world sad, so
Kid with amnesia can save them.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I mean, you've played Final Fantasy 14. You have taste.
Yeah.
And most importantly, with this game, how's the music?
Oh, it's so good.
Yes.
It's been a while since I've heard anything from Uematsu that wasn't an arrangement in Final Fantasy XIV, and there's a very, very good chance this will be his last full game project because of his health.
Yeah.
And it is very much classic, vintage Uematsu. If you've wanted an itch for that sort of, again, like old school Final Fantasy Uematsu, this is it.
Do they keep the loops tight?
I mean, as in short or
yeah.
They're decent size. They don't feel like they're too short. And there's a lot of beautiful instrumentation. I'm not sure I'm sold on the battle music. I think that there's a couple themes I like, but I think that the town themes and then the cutscene or the music that plays in the memory sequences is really, really good. And speaking of which, the game has memories. If you've played Lost Odyssey, you might have an idea about what these are. They're basically little text story sequences. You have like a little beautiful art background, but then the story is completely told through text with some music and sound effects thrown in where appropriate.
Like a little like journal entry kind of thing?
Yeah. Sort of like a little vignette kind of thing like that. So, and they're really good. They're well written, and they flesh out characters and story bits, and it's actually a lot of fun to get them, since it lets them drop some background and lore and whatnot without needing to do full-blown cutscenes where people are talking. So, yeah. And it also plays into Leo getting his memories back, because some of them are literally him remembering things because of some sort of stimulus out in the world. So it's a neat way to get some more story in there. And it makes sense. I mean, like, for a game that was designed for mobile devices, that they would want it to do something like this to maximize story and background without having to have it be full cutscenes. And
yeah, it could be a big memory hog.
Yeah. The art is gorgeous. I mean, like, I hope that at some point they release the art, like in a book or something, without the text in front of it, because it's just really beautiful artwork. So I guess the only other thing for me to talk about would be the gameplay, the battles.
Yeah, you had
which I
mentioned that
are-
they're kind of pretty classic.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to Final Fantasy X's turn-based system where there's no ATB, there's no like, you have to make your movement before the enemy attacks you. Everybody gets their turn in a set order, which you'll see at the bottom of the screen. And you have physical attacks, you have skills, you have magic, you can use items. But there's some nice development to the mechanics that I thought were really cool. One of them is that you can, depending on your skills, you have typical single target skills, you have AoE skills, but some characters will have a skill that can hit enemies in a line, like it'll hit multiple enemies as long as they're in a straight line. Other characters can actually bend their attack and have it go along kind of an arc. So you can use the analog stick, or you can use a finger on a touch screen
like a touchscreen gimmick.
Yeah, to sort of the game tells you to think of it like you're pulling back the string of a bow, to bend the line so that the attack or the magic goes in an arc.
It's and like what they wanted to do and wanted. You bend the bullets.
Yeah. Except without sacrificing the pig or the dead body in the process.
Either way, the terrible interpretation of that story. Either way, this sounds neat and like a good application of it.
Yeah, it's cool. Like it opens up some interesting mechanical uniqueness that you might not expect. Like you can use that to, if there's a character blocking in the front and you can't get at the characters behind him with a normal attack, you could use a bend attack to get around them. And then cool. there are things like, maybe I want to hit everybody in a row because they're lined up and I can do that. And then the last really cool thing the game does, which I think should be something other RPGs should think about, is the dimension mechanic. This is a device that you get early on in the game that Leo has for reasons. That basically once you've met an enemy, once you've fought an enemy, it will then suck any future occurrences of that enemy, like any future random battles with those enemies, into an alternate dimension and just store them there for you for a while. And then whenever you want to fight them, you can then activate it and fight them and fight all of the enemies that it sucked up all at once. There is a limit. You can't do it this infinitely. At a certain point, once it's full, you'll be forced into a fight.
That's so weird.
But basically you'll be running around a map, and instead of getting into random battles, they'll just go to the dimension, and you can keep moving through the level. And later on, you can activate the dimension and just fight all of them at once, or you can wait until it overflows and it forces you. But it frees up a lot of time for you to keep exploring the world and lets you fight enemies on your schedule more, which is, I really appreciate that. I think the things people hate about random battles in RPGs is that it feels like it's a time waster. Like, take a few steps, fight a battle. Like this, it feels like this is a way that the game respects your time by letting you choose when you want to fight random mobs.
Yeah, Bravely Default was good about that, and I think it's by virtue of it being handheld and understanding how and where people will be consuming this content, allowing you to play it in short bursts on the bus or on transit and something like that, or just on your break at work, so you can make it more manageable and not suck up all your time, is a really smart idea.
Yeah. So it's good.
Does everyone here have an iDevice? Like Annette splurged and bought a very nice iPad for herself not too long ago that I'm probably going to have to abscond with at some point just to play this. Does everybody else have designs?
Yeah, I have an iPad Pro, and I'm probably going to be upgrading to the new iPad Pro when it comes out. Hopefully by the time this episode comes out, I will have my hands on it because it will have been announced.
Yeah, I'm probably going to get one of those
I
too.
wish that I have a second gen iPad Pro, and this is my second keyboard cover. They keep breaking because it's a defect with the actual unit, and it's one of those ones that Apple will not admit to it being a problem. So rather than buy a third keyboard cover, because I use it like for it's a part of my workflow. I use it all the time for writing. So instead of just getting another keyboard cover, I decided I'm gonna give my iPad Pro to Amanda, and I'll get a new iPad Pro for myself, and then my iPad 2 that is, gosh, almost a decade old at this point, that Amanda uses occasionally, can go to her dad. So everyone wins.
Huzzah.
Yeah, I just have my wife has a very old MacBook Pro. I'm thinking about what am I going to have to do to try and play this game. How much do I have to drop?
Yeah. I mean, figure out how far
from...
back you can go and see if you can find just like a secondhand iPod or something. Yeah,
yeah, we'll see.
Or wait until it drops on
might have to try
Switch.
it on my wife's computer. I moved away from Apple products a few years ago. Just, I don't know. I like Samsung better.
Yeah, I've been on Android for a long time too. I had an iPod and it got stolen, and since then I just haven't really needed to. But Annette's been all Apple all the time since all of her stuff is connected for that, and she hasn't really been like, I mean, I could, but it'd be a real big buy-in to try and get out at this point, so I've already got everything at this moment, so it's all synchronized for what she needs to do. The iPad works great for her directing, like, it's just, it makes no sense. So I'll reap the benefit.
I fully understand why someone would move from from Apple to Android for phones, but in the terms of the tablet game, I mean,
yeah,
iPad is it's not the only game in town, but it's the only game in town worth playing.
Yeah, you can't really complain for it. They work, they sing, they work well. Like Gwen's, I think she has a 3rd generation one that's still kicking around. Like obviously a lot of apps have stopped working on it, but still does its thing, and it belonged to a 3-year-old who no doubt has dropped it a lot. I mean, it had an OtterBox, but still, it's like, it's doing its thing.
Yeah, my iPad 2, it still works. Looks like it's been through a war, but it still works.
Yeah, exactly. All right, cool. Well, yeah, that sounds awesome, though. So I'm glad you've been having a good time with it, Caitlin. And I don't know, what is have they told us what the arc of the story, like, or is it just going to be 2 parts?
As far as I know, it's just going to be 2 parts. They haven't mentioned it being more than that. Gotcha.
I'm a little disappointed that at no point have you been just like running around one of these incredibly detailed diorama sets, and then you just are like, what, is that a coffee cup? I think one of my favorite stories of theme parks is in Back to the Future, the ride. If you're paying really close attention when you're flying the DeLorean over 2015 Hill Valley, if you're looking at just the right place, you can see a gigantic coffee cup that one of the designers like put on the table and then forgot about when they did the actual filming.
Oh no.
That would be really cool, because there is that I can't remember his name, but there's a really well-known Japanese artist who does those miniature dioramas using real-world objects. I love his work. I follow him on Twitter, and that would be kind of a nice little Easter egg. I mean, maybe. Who knows? I haven't seen all of part 1, and there's another part. Maybe they'll throw something like a collaboration with him in there somewhere. But
this whole time, it's just been you're in a diorama world of a kid's mind.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, that's it's sounding awesome, and yeah, I'm, like I said, gonna be getting my hands on that if Annette will allow me to download it, because it's hers. No games if need be, except for the ones that she wants. But yeah, as we round out this conversation and finish up the episode, again, I've been trying to pose random questions, and as always, listeners, feel free to email me if you have random questions you want to ask. But over the past few weeks since the last episode and such, I've just been not following it super closely. I did pick up on it really quick, though, the whole explosion of the NFT art scene, and just the whole scam, not scam, whatever it is. But I was wondering, it got me thinking, like, what if someone out there, started broadening the horizons? As Jono was saying in the pre-show, the Wu-Tang Clan did this at one point as well with a one-shot, one copy only album. So I was thinking, like, would that work with video games if someone just made a digital game that only one person could buy for an excessive amount of fake money, burning down several rainforests to power it? Like, I mean, I'm fairly confident we'd all hate it, but at the same time, what could that be? What could that look like? But it's just such an interesting art experiment, possibly.
I mean, I'd be worried that the Pharma Bro would buy it again.
Yeah.
I'd be worried about the quality of the game if it's only going to be played and owned by one person. Like, what's the motivation for the developer to make sure that it runs well, or like why put all the man hours into playtesting and doing quality assurance if it's just going to be played by one person? And I mean, like, once they bought it, like, if they're not happy with their expensive purchase, are they up? Is it tough, or like are there protections in place to say I'm not satisfied with this, or this is not I can't accept this, so give me my money back?
Yeah, is there a window in which it can be returned and then someone else can try and buy it, or the developer can work on it again?
Yeah,
depends if they sell it on Steam or not.
And then there's the fact that because like we've been seeing with the NFT art scene, people have then been reselling the art. So I mean, conceivably, you could play the game and sell it again if you wanted to. You may not get your whole price back for it, but at the same time, you might also be able to drive up the value if you're just like, this game blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And then people are like, well, I need to get my mind blown. I need to play this, and then creates a false demand or something. But I don't know. It'd be interesting. But I mean, it also possibly wouldn't just be one game. We get multiple. Will they just be RPG Maker VX games?
I mean, it would need to be. I can't see anyone doing it that wasn't that doesn't do games as art specifically. Like, what's his name? The guy who did I think it was the Stanley Parable. Davey Rendon, I think his name is. He was the creator of one of the creators of the Stanley Parable. He did a game called The Beginner's Guide. And I mean, they are games as art. They are not
right. I could see that's what, like, I picture something like that, like just something that's just like an experience.
Yeah, like I could see that happening. I do not see Square Enix developing the next Final Fantasy game and selling it to one person. Although that would be the most incredible troll ever.
Imagine how expensive it would be too, because like they had to recoup all of their development costs from one sale, not from a couple million or whatever sale. So like,
I bet someone would do it.
Oh yeah, someone would absolutely do it.
Someone would buy it.
I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for it to happen. Like
I'm saying, like someone would like if they did that, if they released a single copy of Final Fantasy 20. And someone had to pay like $1 billion for it. There's got to be at least one billionaire in the world who would be like, "Yep, it's a bargain."
Yeah, I'm a piece of history. It's mine.
The final part of Final Fantasy VII Remake can only be owned by one person.
Oh, that would be the most incredible troll ever. That would be amazing.
Maybe it'll be a whole console. Maybe it'll be just a
one-off console.
The best gaming rig ever made.
That's what KFC's gonna do.
Yeah. Or it could be that there was some Wu-Tang game from back in the PS2 era that had like a troubled development. I don't know if it ever actually came out. Maybe it'll just be that.
Just Wu-Tang gets back in the game. Yeah. Maybe this time, everybody. Yeah.
What if it was like E.T.? What if the game that you got was E.T.?
But then, like, would you want to admit that that's what you spent your money on? Like, that's the other thing too. Would the person be like, "Yeah, I blew several $1 million on this game that really sucks"? But like, no, it's really, really good. But I'm not gonna sell it because I'm just gonna keep it myself because it's so good. Like, would they have to save face?
It's just.
I mean, if you spend that much money, you gotta own it. So
it's just it's a remastered ET. You can't just do the Atari version. You need to remaster it.
But it still has to be awful.
Yes, I'm not saying it should be good.
It's like what they're doing with Diablo 2, where it's just a new skin over top of the original gameplay.
Yep. And it's just like something, they could do one of those interviews where they're like, we went back to the original, we added components that we really think will bring E.T. to life. And it's just like a poorly digitized version of E.T. being like, E.T. phone home, playing every 30 seconds.
Oh no.
That'd just be awful. Now, what if they went full, like, collector's card kind of thing, though, where they had, like, different chapters or episodes, But again, each one was released independently, so you had to trade amongst each other or resell to get the whole experience.
You have a shiny cloud in Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
I could see that a little bit more.
Okay, I can see Nintendo doing that. I can see them doing this exactly, but with individual Pokemon.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
One of a kind Pokemon that you have to trade. You cannot copy.
Just an NFT Pokemon? Yeah.
An NFT Pokemon. I can see Nintendo doing that at some point in the future.
I was surprised they never... I always thought they were going to do that sort of thing with... back with the Amiibos. Not that I was thinking they were going to make like one out of a kind, but I just thought that was going to be another way where you could get unique Pokemon or something like that, is going out and buying a physical Amiibo and then scanning it into your 3DS or whatever. I thought that would have been kind of fun, and then you get these cool little Pokemon statues too, but then you could trade amongst friends or something, maybe. I don't know.
I think the problem is Nintendo's actually one of the only companies I can think of that really, really likes to play with artificial scarcity. Like they did it with the Super Mario 3D collection.
Yeah.
They did it with Mario. I don't understand why Nintendo
Fireball.
seems to think like the Disney Vault was a good idea. Like even Disney at some point was like, we're just going to put it all on Disney Plus. It's fine. The vault's open. But Nintendo's like, nope, good idea.
But yeah, will they reopen it again eventually? Who knows?
Yeah, but they'll charge $60 per game. I'm not actually coming down hard on Nintendo here. They
like to experience gimmicks.
Yeah, they like gimmicks. They like artificial scarcity. They did it with was it Mario 35? I can't remember the name of the game. I haven't played it yet.
Yeah.
There's a bunch
I
of
guess
stuff
I'll
that
never
came
play
with
it
last
now.
year. The build up to this year's 35th anniversary, they had that.
Yeah.
Mario 35 was actually pretty fun though.
As long as they don't do it with Tetris 99, I'm happy. If they ever get rid of Tetris 99, I'm just going to be brokenhearted. I love Tetris 99.
And now you got
so
Pac-Man
much.
99. All depends on the person.
It all depends on the person. It depends on how your brain fits the pieces together.
Well, then my fun hypothetical thing that I'll throw out to round out this thought then, which again, we're all clearly like, yeah, sure, we could see it, but why? If you could have... All right, we've all played enough Final Fantasies. So you're playing a big Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasy Dimensions, we'll say, kind of thing, or Record Keeper, where you had to get like your NFT character. Which character would you NFT, like would you pay a bunch of money for that you would have to have in your Final Fantasy Dimension? Who's your pick?
Hmm.
I think it'd be Ramza. I'd pay for Ramza. I like Ramza Beowulf a lot. He's a pretty cool character. I mean, I'm already basically kind of doing that in War of the Vision, saving all my fake monies and that for when they re-release him as a special character. But yeah, I think I would want Ramza in my party.
How about a Kefka?
You get a Kefka, nice.
It'd be fun to play as a villain. Yeah.
Gonna do something mad. I may as well go for a madman.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. There's a lot of characters.
Who's worth spending thousands of dollars on? I mean, obviously, none of us would do that, but you know.
I'll tell you, Celis. Celis is my all-time favorite Final Fantasy character. I love her. It's not just the fact that, I think she has a ridiculously compelling story through the entire thing.
True.
For gosh sake, she's the only Final Fantasy character I can think of which canonically attempted suicide on screen out of despair. And that's just like, oh my god, I can't believe that Final Fantasy...
Got
that
dark.
Square went there. And then it picks it up. It's dealing with grief in a very real way and pain and depression. And that section of the game, back when I was a kid, I didn't realize how deeply it affected me until I was older. And I played it again and I was like, holy shit.
This is super hard. I'd probably have to go with someone from Final Fantasy XIV, and I'm just trying to decide
Which one?
because there's so many good choices. I mean, like, I
Only
kind of want to say Emmett Selk, because he's like the best villain that Square has ever done, in my opinion. So, like,
I've heard good things.
and I mean, I don't know. Him or Emmerich maybe would probably be my picks from 14. So
There you go. Just depends on who's cheaper or who's more expensive. I don't know.
yeah.
Either way, that would be a random one-time buy where only one person gets that character in their game. Would be quite the frenzy. People would do it though. I know people would do it.
You're not wrong. And this
scary
conversation is really... This is a terrifying reality that I think we're going to have to face with the advent of this particular technology.
Yeah, someone saw that it worked, and people are going to try and harness it.
Yeah.
Bring out everybody's inner Ferengi.
Why'd you bring it up?
Yeah, you gave them
Sorry.
ideas.
You're giving them ideas.
I'm sorry, everybody. It
We
didn't
can do
happen.
an NFT episode of Random.
Yeah, right? That'll fund the whole
Yeah.
site. We'll just do one NFT episode. You can get it for the low price. We'll start bidding at $1, and that'll be what we get.
But what would we do? What would the episode be about?
Random
just-
things.
Yeah.
NFTs.
No, well, just yeah. We don't have any set. Like, we're not going to talk about video games specifically. If they come up, then so be it. But we'll just have random conversations.
We just have it, and it just goes as long as possible. Like, we just keep going. People just keep looping in and out. It
A
could be like a
24-hour
3-day podcast.
episode.
Yeah. Just-
I don't hate that idea as a fundraiser.
we'll tap out. We'll let Leona or Alana, start hosting while we're asleep because different time zones. Then we'll come back. It would just be insanity. By the end of like 5 days, we're like, what do we even talk about anymore?
There are some podcasts that do this kind of thing. Like I know Hello Internet did they did a record episode where it was limited edition podcast on record. They did one that was on a wax cylinder.
Why?
So that was, I mean, you're answering your own question. It's like, why not?
Yeah.
They did a podcast on wax cylinder, and you could buy it.
It's like we just got a Game Boy game. I mean, why not, right?
I mean, I think the Game Boy games are a little more advanced than a wax cylinder, but
There we go. Our podcast will be released as a Game Boy
it's a Game Boy cartridge.
one and only that you can buy.
Our podcast will be everyone is playing playing Ring Fit with cameras, and you get to watch us embarrass ourselves as we struggle to work out.
And with that, I feel like we're at the end of another episode of Random Encounter. If you want to, tell us about your thoughts on the whole NFT thing and the good idea, bad idea, secretly, we all know it's a bad idea. You can email us at podcast@rpgfan.com. You can listen to other podcasts whenever you want. They are not one of a kind. We have Random Encounters episodes. That's not what I meant to say. We have episodes of Retro Encounter coming out weekly. And as much as Mike keeps saying, maybe he'll take a break and chill out, he keeps doing them. There's tons of them. There's lots of good game journals coming out. So stay tuned for those. Rhythm Encounter is back. So if you want to get that music in your ears, we had thought the Bravely episode would be out by now, but I know there's been some delays, so it should be coming up soon. But it's not canceled. It's not going away again. I know everyone's going to have separation anxiety over Rhythm Encounter, but don't worry. It will come up again. And last, we have the Phoenix Edge podcast, staying up on a lot more of the current events. Caitlin, how excited are you for a live-action Aloy film?
A live-action what film?
Horizon Zero Dawn. I realize, yes, I kind of buried it in a weird way, but still, that's what I meant. I was just thinking because they were just talking about. Yeah.
Wait, I thought that there was that news. It was a Ghost of Tsushima they're making a live-action version of, right? It's not Horizon.
I thought.
I think it's also Horizon.
Yeah, I think it's
Looking at
both.
it now.
So.
Oh shit! I missed that. I just heard Ghost of Tsushima, and everyone was talking about like that's an interesting choice, and people were like Horizon, but for real?
Yeah.
And then we hear Caitlin's voice get distant as she runs away.
Oh shit! I had to Google this. I had to Google this. Oh.
It could be so good, and it could not. I don't know. Like, it's gonna be so weird with it not being Ashley Birch, because Ashley Birch is also a good live action actor, but Ashley Birch looks nothing like Aloy, so it wouldn't jive. But yeah, it's. I don't know. I've ever since I've played through it, I was like, I would love to see this game brought to the film world, just so other people can experience the story. So it's exciting. At any rate, so after blowing Caitlin's mind,
I'm so happy.
You can check out all of our podcasts covering all these things. For myself, for Jono, for Abe, for a very excited Caitlin, thank you so much all for listening to yet another episode of Random Encounter, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.
Be seeing you.
Meet me on Enoch.
I can't speak. I'm so happy.